What a game. Going to overtime. To overtime.
Timeline. Sam, it's 1 a.m. for you. How you doing?
Extra basketball. How can I turn it down? And then an extra podcast after the extra basketball. How can I possibly say no? The Phoenix Suns are 1-0.
They are.
Folks, that's the headline here. The Phoenix Suns are 1-0. It wasn't always pretty. We're coming off a game that I think had summer league vibes at times. Yep. Still working out the kinks, but they prevailed.
There's so much to talk about. I mean, there's so much to talk about overall. I want to start with the Kevin Durant shot that actually sent it to overtime because that was, I think, the biggest moment of the game. Look, I don't think that anyone was great in this game except for maybe Bradley Beal. After all the talk about Bradley Beal, he may have been the only player that was great
I feel that.
In this game. Yep. Kevin Durant had good moments. He had 7 turnovers. I think like a lot of the reason they got back into the game was the turnovers. But that moment where he caught the ball and there was players draped all over him, and he just shot that lean back fadeaway off one leg and hit that shot that sent it to overtime. That was the moment of the game. That was huge, and it gave them the opportunity to win, even though the refs tried to take that opportunity away from them by giving Booker a weak foul to foul out in this game. Booker, who was on fire coming back into the game to bring them back in it in that fourth quarter, they took him out of it. But overall, obviously this game went to overtime. We can talk about how it ended. We can talk about the overtime. This was also the debut of a new starting 5. This was the debut of 2 rookies. This was the debut of massive Grayson Allen. What'd you think of the new look Suns so far?
An 11-man rotation tonight, first of all. Mm-hmm. That's probably the first place I'd go. And yeah, I think you're right. Like, I wouldn't necessarily highlight any one player tonight, except for, again, Bradley Beal was really good, especially with some of his late-game heroics. I know he didn't get the opportunity to have the shot that KD had to send it into overtime, but he was really good.
Had some huge ones in overtime. Yeah, huge shots.
Yeah, he did. For the most part, though, again, like 11-man rotation, Oso Ighodaro played important minutes in this game. Yusuf Nurkic, despite the fact that he made like 2 critical free throws down the stretch and was playing in overtime, he finished with 22 minutes played in this game, right? Tyus Jones, really, really rock solid I would even say great debut from Tyus Jones here tonight. Ryan Dunn played minutes. You know, I think there's a whole Ryan Dunn versus Royce O'Neal conversation that could be had.
There was until Royce came in for Nurkic at the end of the fourth quarter, and that's what brought him back.
Well, that's what
it.
I mean. Yeah. That's what I mean is that I think, you know, I don't even know where to start because I think these are all various like offshoots conversations, and you guys are going to have to forgive me. It's very late and my brain isn't working, but you know, I think Ryan, if we're just going to focus on one thing at a time, Ryan Dunn, I think at times looks like a rookie, yes. The shot selection is something he's going to have to work on.
They didn't exactly set him up for success with that shot selection. They ran multiple little Chicago actions with him going in the middle of the floor. It's like, what are they doing? That's not his job. Yeah.
No, but it's like Royce O'Neal knows who he is, and Ryan Dunn needs to know who he is. But I think there's a conversation to be had of like Royce O'Neal, them going small at the end of the fourth quarter, and Royce playing those minutes matched up against Zubac.
Plus 14 for Royce.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. But like those could be Ryan Dunn's minutes in 2 months. In 1 month, even. I was envisioning at the end of the game when I can't even remember if Book had fouled out yet or not, but it was Tyus. I guess it was Tyus, Beal, KD, one of Booker, Grayson, and then Royce as the 5th guy. Yeah. And already I was envisioning like, that 5th guy, that's Ryan Dunn by December.
Yeah. Well, if
some
Nurkic was on the floor,
of the defensive reps he had against Harden already tonight were awesome.
Yeah, they were. Genuinely, he looks like he can do it right away, which is what we expected after preseason. You know, watching him play, it's like, okay, this guy clearly has that one thing he could definitely do in the NBA right now. The question about the offense, of course, remains to be answered, right? There's still a lot of time for this team to play, and there's a lot of time to try to figure out exactly what they can be going forward, but the defense works. I mean, he looks great. I mean, there was a couple moments for Oso Ighodaro, I think, that weren't bad either. He didn't really have a lot to do in this game. He had that one floater. They both got their first buckets. Oso Ighodaro in the way that we expected. Maybe Ryan Dunn not quite in the way that we expected after the amount of three-point shooting he had in preseason. But exciting to see a debut by both of those guys. I think they're both going to play minutes, it seems like, at the very least, right? I mean, I don't know how much. Ryan Dunn only finished with 9, but he played. And, part of that was that Royce O'Neal, like you said, was having a great game.
I really don't know what to make of. Like, I did not expect Oso, to be honest. Didn't expect him to play. That was kind of shocking to me when he came in. And not only that, but, like, played important minutes, too. Even at a certain point where, like, I think he mostly did his best. And I thought he played well at times. But, like, there was a point there where they were hemorrhaging the lead that they had. This was, like, the second quarter. And he's just outmatched physically, and Bud kept him in the game, and I was like, okay, yeah, we're doing this night one. We're putting Oso on guys like 50 pounds heavier than him.
On Harden. Right. There was a couple possessions where he was guarding Harden to start. I mean,
he played power forward too for a few minutes here. Mm-hmm. Like he played real minutes, and so Mason Plumlee made his debut, Suns debut tonight too. Obviously, 14 minutes, made some good reads out of the short roll.
Yeah. For Mason Plumlee.
Some good reads out of the short roll, which is exactly what Mason Plumlee was brought in to do. But who ends up kind of winning that battle between him and Oso minutes wise? I don't know how that's going to turn out. We should focus on
14 free throws combined by both of the Suns centers, by the way, with Nurkic and Plumlee. Nurkic continues to just get fouled all the time. It happened in this game just like it did last year. And then Plumlee, of course, with his free throws, people are still daring him to make them, and he made 4 of 6.
He made the ones that counted.
Plumlee made some big ones, in this game. KD
and Beal, because we do this thing all the time. We bury the lead. We came out here talking about the rookies.
Ryan Dunn,
don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I like the rookies. Old habits rearing. I shouldn't even include Beal in this conversation. This is more about Durant and Booker, actually. Old habits rearing their ugly head.
Yeah.
To allow the Clippers back into this game. There was an element of going into the fourth quarter. It was actually an inverse of the situation we've seen in the past, where usually it's the Suns go into the fourth quarter with a lead and they blow it. This time they got to play catch up. But, I mean, how did you feel just generally, I guess, about the balance of powers in the Suns offense?
22 turnovers, man. Like... It was the amount of turnovers of the starting lineup is hilarious if you look at it. 7 by Durant, 4 by Nurkic, who has very little responsibility handling the ball right now.
But he made some awful decisions in those limited touches, which I think is part of the reason, like, until they needed him at the end again, that he wasn't really playing.
Yeah, and he actually finished. Right? He finished strong in overtime. I'll give him credit, and they all deserve credit after a win. But Booker with 6 turnovers, right? 4 turnovers. Cannot leave that off the table here. 2 by Beal, and then, of course, Tyus Jones with 0 and 8 assists. And look, you can't have him have the ball all the time, but a little bit more is probably a good idea for Tyus Jones. Like, 7 turnovers for KD, and so many of them were he just gets the ball, he holds it for a little too long, the help comes, and it's gone. And it was exactly like it happened last season. And you just can't do that when you have guys like Tyus Jones and Monte Morris, who also I think had a really good game, even though he played only 13 minutes. I think he was really good in those minutes. But you have guys who don't turn the ball over now. And also, moments in overtime, they kind of went to Beal a little bit late, I feel like. They really forced it to KD over and over and over again. And,
they did.
And it worked, right? Because KD, he got to the free throw line, and he hit some big shots there at the end. But it's like, I forgot Beal was on the court a couple of times there. What's he there for if he's not going to get the ball?
Honestly, you want to talk about like the last shot, that the shot that KD made to go into overtime, and I'm like, he's setting up there with guys all around him, And I know he's going to have to go. Like, I know the double, the triple is coming, and all I'm thinking is, no, why
Don't
are we
dribble.
doing this? But it's like,
Yeah.
But like, that is who he is,
Yeah,
right?
that
And, like,
shot is.
he can make that shot in a way that only a handful of players, like in the current NBA,
In the history
in
of the
previous
NBA.
NBA eras, in NBA history,
Yeah.
can make, right? That's why he's one of one. That's why he's a Hall of Famer. I understand that's why they're building an offense around him. Okay, that's fine. For the last 2 minutes of the game, that's fine. If he needs to take the final shot, that's fine. For the other 46 minutes of the game, we got to be better. I mean, we got to be more inventive with the ways we're setting them up. That's the entire reason we brought in Tyus Amante in the first place, right? Run these guys, and when I'm talking about these guys, I'm talking really about KD and Book. I think Book has a little bit less of the issues that KD specifically has.
Significantly
with some of
less
his
if you look at
playmaking.
last year. Yeah, but there's still dumb
Yeah.
plays that happened last year, and there was dumb plays tonight. Yeah.
Right. But it's like, get these guys off of movement, run them off. I mean, it's not rocket science, right? We saw a lot of plays in the preseason. You run them off a curl, you empty out the corner on one side, and then you have it so they're catching off the curl into empty space. They take one dribble, they have a look, maybe the defense rotates and they can swing it around, and you have a swing. Like, just not the stuff where they're holding the ball for 7 or 8 seconds and the defense has a chance to set up, right? Which is where consistently you run into trouble. And
Especially
I
don't know how technical.
I don't want to harp on it too much because it's game 1 of 82,
Yeah, of course.
and like we won the game, right? Let's celebrate we won the game, but also we saw this all last season, right?
Except
So
when we
let's-
saw.
let's fix it.
So this is what, like, strategically, this is what was happening in this game, right? The Clippers have a bunch of wings who are of similar size that can switch everything, right? And then keep Zubats down low for help, or Kai Jones, who's on this team now for some reason, and they can switch everything. And what
Is
happened?
Mo Bamba not? Is he injured? Was that
I
why
don't
Kai
know.
Jones
It's a good
was playing?
question. I mean, Kai Jones
think-
didn't look bad. Don't get me wrong. I think he
No,
looked
I
fine.
think Bamba must be injured because I was like, why is Kai Jones playing?
So if they're switching everything, that's what the Suns struggled with the most last year. And if you go back in the history of Devin Booker's career, that's kind of what he struggled with the most. All of the jokes about double teams for Devin Booker should probably be more about switches, because he's a guy who's really good in the drop. Like, if the drop is against him, he's gonna destroy that. But if a team has a bunch of big wings who can switch, that's the hardest thing to contend with in the NBA. It's also one of the hardest things to get open threes out of. Now, the Suns still shot 38. They wanted to shoot more, and it was pretty clear that they wanted to shoot more. In the second half, they couldn't get them up as much as the first half. So this game, in a lot of ways, kind of ended up down the stretch looking like a playoff game. You could talk a lot about how you want those Suns running more stuff, you know, if you're a fan. Not you specifically, Sam, because I think you hit the nail on the head there still. But if they're switching like this, if they're top blocking on guys who are trying to go around screens, right, and they still have a guy underneath who can protect the rim in Zubac. This is why they ended up going to a 5-out system without Nurkic to end the game, because now all of a sudden you can't top block. Top blocking, by the way, for those who don't know, is when guys are trying to run around screens, the defense sets up above the screen so that the only option is to cut. And if they have guys who can help on the cuts, they're not going to cut. They're going to try and push off of it, catch the ball, and isolate. So there was a ton of isolation in this game because of that. And, you know, surprisingly, Bradley Beal was really good in that. Devin Booker started to heat up a lot in that. And then Kevin Durant had his moments down the stretch to actually keep it, actually winnable at the end there. But to that point, there has to be ways to beat that with off-ball movement still. Because in order to counter switches, you have to confuse the defenders who are trying to switch. You have to have more movement. Otherwise, you're just doing isolations for 48 minutes straight, and that's going to wear anyone down, including players like James Harden, who was doing that a lot in this game and got pretty worn down by the end of the game. Because you can't do isolations for 48 minutes straight. It just doesn't work.
Well, you know, ironically, it's something about going small, too, because it's like, I think the way that James Jones has assembled this team and the way that Bud wanted it to be assembled, they feel really confident in all of their bigs to play five out in the sense of, like, delay sets and stuff like that, right? Like having your bigs at the top of the key where they can set an early down screen and then make plays at the top of the key and just do that sort of free-flowing offense, whether it's Yusuf Nurkic or also or Mason Plumlee. They like having all of those guys in that position, and then maybe they can set a screen and screen and roll and whatever. When you pull those guys out of the game, and now the fifth guy is Royce or Grayson, I think we've kind of touched on the fact in the past that, like, in a way, it sort of takes away a playmaking asset from you, right? In a way that you wouldn't necessarily expect. Usually you're thinking, we're getting smaller, we've got more playmakers on the floor. With this team, I'm not sure that that's necessarily the case. And so now you're putting even more responsibility into the hands of KD and Booker and Beal. And yeah, if those point guards aren't there to be the steadying presence and really take the reins back, things can kind of get out of control pretty fast.
Yeah. When I think about this game and the way the Clippers are playing them, who, by the way, if they can find ways to generate offense, might actually win more games than they anticipated, because the defense is going to be good. I think it will be really good. Unless they're playing teams with bigs that can counter switches really well, and there's not a lot of those in the NBA now, so they can really kind of battle with a lot of wings and guards and try to counter teams that are trying to shoot a ton of threes with just a lot of switching. They're probably going to be pretty okay from that perspective. It's just offensively, I don't know how they're going to generate offense.
I mean, they need one of, like, I'm looking at James Harden took 28 shots tonight, scored 29 points on 10 of 28 from the field.
Yeah.
They need one of Norm Powell or Kevin Porter Jr. I guess this is why they brought in Kevin Porter Jr., right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, this is exactly what he can do. He's not a good NBA player, but he can heat up. And so they need, like, one of those two guys to heat up every other night to give James Harden someone else, right? Like, Harden just needs one other guy.
Yeah.
Zubats has a little post hook, like you can run that 2 or 3 times a game.
Underrated offensive player.
Then you
underrated.
just need Derrick Jones, Terrence Mann to hit their spot up threes, which is always iffy. Amir Coffey, made some ridiculous shots tonight late in the game, too.
Seriously. I thought that when he hit that one over Booker, I was like, oh, well, this game's over.
Yeah, I thought
that's really where I thought it ended.
Not typically a player I fear, but
if he's making mid-range fadeaway shots over Devin Booker, it's like, all right, well,
I don't know. I still kind of don't believe in the Clippers, and I'm sorry if that's blasphemous to say. After, like, I thought they played well tonight, but also I thought the Suns just could have played way, way, way better. And I'm not sure I believe in the Clippers just based on this.
Part of me kind of feels like this is a game that the last year Suns team would have lost by 30.
30?
Yeah, because it
30?
Because it literally happened against the Clippers last year. You know what I mean?
It did happen,
and it was this style of defensive play that really messed them up last year. And if you factor in so little off-ball movement and what they were doing last year, I think you could see how it could start snowballing. With the Suns. There were times where it did in this game, but they just found ways to claw their way back in it. And I think a lot of that. Credits to Tyus Jones. Once again, I think you said he had a good game. He was 1 for 5 from the 3-point line, but still finished 5 for 10. Got a couple of great shots at the rim. I don't know what the team stats are, but I actually kind of felt like the Suns were getting to the rim more than I realized. Now let me see if I can check that stat. I don't think it is on ESPN's box score, but I think Tyus Jones was like a big part of keeping it steady when they could have completely lost control. And then we mentioned it, but Bradley Beal, I'll mention his stats here too. He was 8 for 12 in this game. Just really, really great shooting. 4 for 6 from 3, 4 for 5 from the 3-point line, and finished with 24 points and only 1 assist. And, that's kind of, in a weird way, this is kind of how he has to play. I mentioned it in our preseason podcasts, but, Bud said the scorers have to go back to being scorers, and that means less assists. And that's okay, right? If he has 1 assist but finishes with 24 points, that's going to be okay for him. Booker, I think, needs to get some assists. KD needs to get some assists because they're going to face more double teams than Bradley Beal will. But Beal needs to have games where he explodes like this and actually keeps him in the game. And this was a game where, after all we talked about with him this offseason or this preseason, it was nice to see him finally have a good game, because what a disastrous preseason he had.
Yeah, for sure. And just sort of a fortuitous moment for him of, like, Book fouls out and Beal needs to kind of ascend to be the next guy in the offense. And it's just a good moment for him because, it gets, the fans are on his side anyway, but you know what I mean? It gets all the fans behind him just a little bit extra. I know this was a road game too, but he just played really, really well down the stretch. We're talking about Book. Book needs to get assists, but he also needs to get some shots up.
Yeah, they did a great job in the first half, really stopping him from shooting. Yeah,
they did. 9 field goal attempts in 32 minutes. When was the last time Devin Booker took fewer than 10 field goal attempts?
He doesn't.
I'd have to look
it
that
is
up.
kind of, it's kind of good sometimes that he doesn't force it. But, in games where they're forcing you to isolate, I think he would have forced it more had he not fouled out, right? He would have taken more shots. He was finding ways to get open in that fourth quarter until he fouled out. I think he would have had, obviously if he played overtime, he would have had more shots. But I think if he finished the fourth quarter, he had a couple more too.
Yeah, and just the way this offense is spread out, like everyone feels like they have the green light a little bit, I think. Maybe that's a little bit of a problem too. I'm looking at you specifically, Yusuf Nurkic.
100%. Yeah, no, for sure. I think you're right. There's clearly some chemistry things that need to get worked out here.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, again, it's game 1. It's right.
Yeah.
But like these are just our instant reactions. Nurk shot 1 for 4 from deep. And I've said I don't mind him taking the shot. I don't mind if he's going to shoot 30% for a while. I understand. I think it has to happen. Like he has to feel empowered to take that shot. But maybe not early in the shot clock if you can get Devin Booker or Kevin Durant the ball.
Yeah, but part of me feels like if Booker
look for something else first.
Like the last one he took, right? It was an empty corner pick and pop, really. And Booker took the screen, drove to the rim. Nurkic popped out to the 3-point line, and Booker fed him wide open to the 3-point line. And it's like, well, he has to shoot now.
Yeah, they want to build his confidence.
And that's the shot that Devin Booker set him up to shoot. So, if you don't want him to shoot that, don't pass it to him there. Booker, you have experience not passing to centers when you don't want them to shoot. You've done it for a while. I think Devin Booker, you can capably do that with Nurkic as well. But I do think for these first, 20 or so games of the season, unless they go really badly, 1 per quarter is probably okay for Nurk. And unless it starts going really
a lot.
badly. I know.
That's going to be like 80 to 100. Quick math by the end of December or something.
Yeah, I mean 20 games, 4 per game, yeah.
We should have a pretty good idea by the end of that if he can actually do this or not.
It's tough
if he's going to have to pivot his strategy.
It's tough to say that they're giving him an actual chance to do it without allowing 3 to 4 a game, I think. Right? I mean, am I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I feel like you can't say you're actually letting him do it without giving him that opportunity. Speaking of opportunity,
I think
threes,
you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't frown at him every time he misses and threaten to bench him or anything, right? If you're going to do this, you have to commit to the strategy. And for the most part, just with the entire team, they did commit to the strategy. They shot 38 for the game, 15 for 38, 39.5%. That's another scary thing about these two teams here, though. The Clippers only took 29 threes in this game, and they only shot 27%. And we just eked out
defense,
this game.
Man. They are
eked out.
Like, I could see them having a top 10 defense this year, and maybe even higher. The Clippers. I think that's a chance, man. I do.
Wait till Mo Bamba's available. They'll be number 1. Buy more
Grayson,
Mo stocks.
Speaking of 3-pointers attempted, 21 minutes and still got to his 6 3-pointers attempted. He's ready to shoot him, man. He's definitely
needs
to be launching.
Look, Bud, I understand if he's. I don't think this 11-man rotation is going to stick. I don't know. I just don't trust it. But if it's a 10-man rotation going forward, whatever it is, Bud needs to not play around with Grayson Allen's minutes. Grayson Allen can play 24 plus minutes a game and fire him up. Because we're going to need him to. I think we literally need his instant offense.
Okay, so say this is an interesting question because I thought of this at the time when it happened. Grateful I didn't tweet it out because Royce O'Neal ended plus 14, but there was a moment there where they took Nurkic out because it wasn't working with Nurkic, and they went small to try and close the end of the fourth quarter, right? We talked about it earlier.
With Royce.
But the player they chose was Royce. The other option would have been Grayson. that would have gotten Grayson up. Or done, yes, obviously.
but as I mentioned earlier,
right,
they weren't going to do it.
Yeah, January, February, maybe it's done, right? But probably not, October, November. But Grayson has experience. He started for the team last year, played a ton with these guys. Royce O'Neal obviously did too. But the choice was made for it to be Royce. And in that moment, I thought, why is it not Grayson? We need somebody out there like Grayson who can hit shots. And obviously it worked out, and I think Royce O'Neal actually played really well in those minutes, had some nice defensive plays. Even if they didn't result in turnovers on James Harden, he messed him up a little bit on his drives. He poked at the ball. He
Also
made him uncomfortable.
Played right? Like, obviously, he had to be comfortable switching on Harden. He also took a shot to the mouth from Zubats.
Yeah.
So he played multiple positions. Can Grayson do that?
That's the question,
I
right?
mean,
Would you have wanted that to
yeah.
be Grayson? Because that's how you get his minutes up. I mean, obviously, less Iguodala could have done it too, but that would have been a big moment to put Grayson in, and I think Royce was the right choice. I mean, obviously, when you win by 3, you can say that. It's possible it would have gone differently with Grayson, maybe even better. Who knows? But we'll never know.
No, I think you're right. I think, honestly, there's just a lot. I'm still getting used to the fact there's just a lot of talent on this team. There really is. And so I think we can make cases for lots of different guys to play more minutes. And we're just going to have to see how it all coalesces together, because there can be a lot of talent on paper and it doesn't actually turn into such a great record at the end of the day. So, but yeah, I mean, just off of first glance at the box score, it feels crazy that Grayson Allen would play 21 minutes in an overtime game.
Yeah.
But I suppose that's where we
KD 44 minutes, by the way. He can't get away from
he
that
played
even, yeah.
He played a lot.
Yeah.
He played a lot.
Mm-hmm. And he needed to. And yeah, it's one of those games too where KD was awesome and frustrating at the same time. And I think maybe we're just going to have to get used to that, Sam. It's just something we're going to have to get used to. This is what it is. This is a Kevin Durant team. He's going to have, 25 points and maybe sometimes 7 turnovers with that. And that's...
Yeah, just ideally in the future he doesn't have 0 assists to 7 turnovers.
It's crazy. It really is crazy. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the assist distribution.
He's got the infinitely small assist to turnover ratio at the moment. 0.
Impossible.
I think you need to at least register. You need to register an assist first before it counts.
Monte Morris debut in this game. I think you had a tweet about it, which I thought was dead on too.
Mid-range bucket.
It's just nice to have a guy who can create a shot every once in a while when nothing's working.
Yeah. We're going to see a lot of that. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much we're going to see of it. Maybe we see it for 13 minutes a game, but those 13 minutes a game are going to be like you're in steady, reliable hands. And if he's playing alongside, I don't know, you could just like kind of feel it. Like if it's him and Brad and he's creating offense for Brad. And then, I think Ryan Dunn, his minutes were with those two guys too. And Ryan Dunn's taken the primary defensive assignment, and it's like those guys, they have roles and they mesh together.
I'm happy to see him play. I thought he played really well. I mentioned it in preseason too, but I think he tries really hard defensively. I don't know, I think Tyus does too. Like there were moments in this game where Tyus was matched up on James Harden, and man, he was giving a ton of effort, and then James would just shoot right over him, right? I mean, Tyus had a massive play towards the end of the game when he stole that pass. That was that lob pass that I think was going down to, I forget who it was, but a massive play. But yeah, those guys at least are high effort defensive players, and I think you can get away with a lot when you have high effort defensive players. Like 113 points to the Clippers in an overtime game. It's going to be fascinating to find out whether that's bad or good later in this season, because I don't feel like they can generate a ton of offense. They ended the game with 103. That feels pretty good defensively overall for the Suns. But
wasn't it like 39 in the first half?
Yeah, it was.
And they ended with 113. I know they took overtime to get there, but damn.
Yeah, 35 points in the third quarter and 29 in the fourth. Suns kind of dropped the ball defensively there. Well, it was turnovers. Like, we know the story, right? If you have a ton of turnovers, you're going to give up easy shots over time, and they just had a ton of turnovers. They gave them more shots, What did they end up with? They ended with 92, and the Suns finished with 78 shots. That's 14 more shots. By the way, Suns couldn't rebound anything in the first quarter. How many
turnovers did the Clippers have? Hold on.
Let's see. Clippers finished
21.
21, yeah.
Holy shit.
And 22. So it was just rebounding more than anything else, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, 13 offensive rebounds, and the Suns had 0 offensive rebounds from their starters. 0. Only finished with 4 overall. It's pretty big.
Yeah, that'll be one of those stats we track throughout the year. I mean, Nurk isn't usually Nurk only played 22 minutes, but like normally he'll give you at least a couple offensive rebounds. Those other 4 guys, I don't know what we're expecting from them.
Yeah, you're
but
right.
It shouldn't be much in the offensive rebounding column.
Lakers is next, and back-to-back games with Lakers and Mavs. Lakers have, we know what it's like. They actually kind of played really well in their first game yesterday. I already forget who they played, but it was the Timberwolves, right? And they
Yes.
they kind of handled them the entire game. Anthony Davis had an excellent game. Any thoughts on that matchup?
I only watched a little bit of that game that they had against the Timberwolves. I mean, Anthony Davis was ridiculous, but also so good. They were so good that they were able to play Bronny in the first half and get away with it and hemorrhage some points. I think they immediately gave up like a 7-0 run as soon as he checked into the game, and it didn't even matter because they were up by like 20. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I'd love to beat JJ. I don't have any particular thoughts on the Lakers. We played the Lakers a lot. We played them in preseason,
and we got two games against them, and then the beginning of the season. Just to remind you, Clippers, Lakers, Mavs, Lakers, Clippers. Those are the first 5 games. 4 of the first 5 are against the Lakers or the Clippers. So get used to seeing those LA jerseys a lot over the next few games.
Get used to seeing Steve Ballmer on the side, absolutely losing his mind. He was probably the funniest part of tonight.
Absolutely.
So shout out Steve Ballmer. He's a real one.
All right, we'll be back with an episode probably Sunday or Monday, previewing the next week of games. Hopefully the Suns have 2 more wins after those next few games. We appreciate you all for listening. This would have normally been a Patreon episode. It feels like, because it's the beginning of the season, we had to release this one to everyone. But if you want midweek episodes like this every week, patreon.com/thetimeline. Don't forget to check out ethicalhoops.com for all kinds of new merchandise. We appreciate you all, and go Suns.